Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Carrie May. I'm the Library Director for Jackson County Library Services, and I'm here to welcome you to this evening's community listening session. We are live at the Medford Branch Library and live casting out to 4 of our branch locations at Central Point, Ashland, Eagle Point, and Rogue River. So shout out to all of you all who are joining us virtually this evening. I want to start this meeting by reading our land acknowledgement. So please join me in thought as I read the following. Jackson County Library Services acknowledges that its libraries are located within the traditional lands of the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians and the Modoc Nation, as well as the Shasta, Takelma, and Latgawa people, whose descendants are now identified as members of the Confederate Tribes of Siletz Indians and the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde. We take this moment to recognize the indigenous peoples whose traditional lands are where residents of Jackson County live today. JCLS is committed to fostering understanding, deep respect, and honor for indigenous people, and we encourage you to learn more about the land you reside on. For more information, go to jcls.org/land. So you may be wondering, why a facilities master plan? What is a facilities master plan? And we'll talk a little bit about that here tonight. First of all of our buildings were built in Jackson, built or renovated between 2001 and 2008, which sounds pretty recent, but it's getting to be more like 20 years ago now. And so it's time for us to start thinking about what the future of our library buildings is. And so we are working with a company called Group 4 Architects, and I have Jill Ayer here today who will speak in a moment to what they are working on. But our county demographics have changed even over the last 20, 25 years, and they're continuing to change. We're growing, we're getting a more diverse population. Things have happened. COVID, anyone? And also the wildfires that hit us close to home and also impact us every summer with the air quality. And I don't know exactly what that means for libraries in the future, but those are some of the changes we've seen in our community. The other thing we've seen in the last 20 years is the invention of the iPhone. You know, it's hard to believe, but when our last library was finished being built in 2008, the iPhone had just been released. So a lot of changes in technology, and I'm sure that's accelerating even more as we go into the future. So we want to hear from you in our community and make sure that the plans that we're putting together for the future include what you all want to see in your library and in your community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jill Ayer, as I said, from Group 4 Planners, to talk through what they've discovered so far in this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. I am Jill Ayers. I'm an associate principal with Group 4 Architecture, Research, and Planning. We have a maybe 15 to 20-minute presentation here for you tonight, and then at the end we'll have an opportunity for questions and some discussion. For those of you participating from one of the other 4 libraries to which we are live casting, there are staff on hand to take your questions, and they will send them to us at the end of the presentation. Before you leave tonight, we'd also appreciate it if you could take a few minutes to take a quick exit survey for us and about what you heard here tonight. So Group 4, my firm, is a California-based firm with a national practice in library planning and design. One of our particular areas of specialty is long-range facilities planning for libraries such as Jackson County Library Services, Multnomah County Library, and Deschutes Public Library, just a couple of the other libraries we've worked with as well. And we also love to design libraries like the Central Library in Spokane that's shown here. Jackson County Library Services is the 2nd largest library in the state of Oregon by population served, more than 225,000 residents of Jackson County today. Director May gave us a brief history of the system, but you know, as she mentioned, almost all of the facilities that are in Jackson County today were built between 2001 and 2008. And 20 years is the time in a library's life where it's ready for rethinking, renovation, refresh. And so that's what we are here to do. In that 25 years since 2000, and most of them were built, there have been millions of people have walked in through the doors, millions of items have been checked out, tens of thousands of programs have been put on, which have been attended by tens, hundreds of thousands of people. So libraries are very, very popular here in Jackson County. Over that same time frame, the population has grown by 20% in Jackson County, and that is expected to grow by another 10% or more in the next 15 years. So last fall, we started our work with the library on this planning process. The purpose of our work was to develop a clear vision of high-performing, inclusive, and sustainable library spaces and facilities for the year 2040, and to recommend strategies and improvement projects to achieve that vision over the next 10 to 15 years. It wasn't in our team's scope to do a detailed engineering assessment of any of the buildings. We didn't crawl around on the roofs. We didn't look in the basements. All of that was sort of beyond our scope. What we did focus on were things like how much library space is needed for the population today and in the future, and to support library service and operations in Jackson County, as well as the priorities from the library's recent strategic plan, which was finished in 2022. Yeah. So that was an important foundation for our process as well. We also didn't get into the planning or design of any specific facilities. That's a next step after this plan. This long-range plan is really focused on the big picture of what it looks like when it's right for 2040. This is an approximately 9 to 10 month process that we started last fall, and we're working toward presenting the project to the Jackson County Library Services Board in 2 months. In June is our goal. Along the way, over the last 7-8 months, there have been multiple opportunities for stakeholders and community members to participate in this plan. We had community surveys in both English and Spanish. We had a stakeholder workshop in February. We've met multiple times with library staff, and of course, we've walked through all the buildings as well. Thank you to everyone out there who has participated in this process, and for being here tonight to share your ideas and perspectives with us. We have, by our count, gotten more than 2,200 people involved in this process so far, community members, and then more than 150 library staff filled out a special survey just for them about Jackson County communities and the library facilities and how well those things are aligned. And then the workshop we had in February, we had a wonderful turnout of city and county leaders, corporate nonprofit partners, and other community stakeholders and representatives. So through all that engagement, what have we heard? What are some of the big themes and community values that we heard along the way? More than 70% of community survey respondents agreed with the statement that providing children in Jackson County with a strong foundation for lifelong learning is important for strong communities. Particularly in the more remote areas of Jackson County, we heard about how much they rely on the library for internet access. Only 3 in 10 community survey respondents agreed with the statement that their community has reliable internet access at home, which is not a lot. And as we know, internet access is essential for just about everything we do these days. Remote work, collaboration, accessing digital information, job seeking, increasingly even accessing social and government services is all online. So having that access is very important. We heard from the community that they want more opportunities to participate in programs and events at the library. This validates one of the findings of the library strategic plan, that expanding and diversifying programming and events for all ages is an important priority for the community. The library strategic plan also envisions the library as a convener of community conversations. What we heard through the survey and the engagement is that your community is on board for this. They told us that they very much see the library as a place to connect with other people and to build community around those connections and shared interests. More than half of survey respondents said that Jackson County communities need information and resources to support job seekers and career skills, and they look to the library for these things. And your communities do, of course, still value books and access to library materials, and would like even more of that and more access to that outside of library hours. So this is the new book lockers that went in earlier this year at Shady Cove Library that I hear are very popular, and I think one more for Ashland is in the works. So stay tuned for book lockers at Ashland. All right, so looking at the facilities today, library facilities in Jackson County, there's 15 libraries that range in size from the little less than 2,000 square foot Butte Falls up to the 80,000 plus square foot building that we're in here in Medford Library tonight. Ashland is the second largest at around 25,000 square feet. The rest of the branches in between are largely in the 5,000 to 8,000 square foot range. There's a few on either side of that. Rogue River is a little bit up over 11,000 square feet. And I mentioned the purple triangles on the map are the book lockers, both current and planned. In terms of physical condition, the millions of library visits that your libraries have had over the last 20, 25 years, that kind of use can cause a lot of wear and tear. But the library maintains a very close partnership with Jackson County to take care of your facilities, and they look really good. You're taking very, very good care of your libraries here. And the library's even made some significant updates since we've been in this process. They are certainly not waiting around for us to tell them what to do. Roofs and carpets and all kinds of things have been taken care of. So it's an extremely good foundation for a long life for these buildings, and most of them should continue to be able to serve the decade for many decades to come. We've got a young, enthusiastic participant in the room. But library facilities need more than just maintenance to keep them up to date. Director May mentioned all of the changes in technology. Over the last 20, 25 years, we've seen some of the most rapid evolution and change in not just technology, but library services in general, and in what people need and expect from the library as well. There's a growing need for places for people in the library, including for many that we heard through the values that I just shared with you. And that high growth and increasing diversity that is expected in the future is just going to continue adding to that need and demand. Part of our charge for this project was to build the future vision of library spaces and facilities for Jackson County. So how does all of this translate into that vision for facilities? These are a few of the ideas that teens here at Medford Library this afternoon had for what they would like to see. And there's water slides and ball pits, but lots of interest in color and activities that are hands-on, not just the water slide, but games and things to do together. And they want something that is both expressive and calm and edgy. So lots of good ideas for the team. So a few more of the ideas that are coming from this emerging vision. The library is, of course, a place for everyone, and we want everyone to be able to see themselves in the library. Intuitive and empowering. Library spaces are very easy for people to understand when they walk in. They're very legible. Like architects, we talk about the legibility of space, just like you can read a book. And so supported by clear signage, and so that people can be as independent as they like when they come into the library. But of course, staff are always there and happy and ready to serve at the point of need, which is part of the facilities as well. Vision for libraries is spaces that are beautiful and exciting, that keep you coming back with that wow experience over and over again in the library. And of course, continue to be well maintained so they remain fresh and welcoming for the thousands of visitors that they receive. Library buildings are energy efficient and environmentally responsible, respecting and enhancing the natural beauty that's here in Jackson County. All the flowers are in bloom right now. We picked the perfect day to come up here for this. The buildings are also equipped to provide service and space through disruptive events, wildfires, bad air quality, very hot, very cold weather, power outages, all of these things that disrupt life in the communities. We want the library to be able to continue to function as that destination for people even during those times. And of course, we want the buildings to be flexible and adaptable so they can continue to evolve and change and grow with the community over time as well. And as I mentioned before, just plenty of places for people in the library, for community members to connect with each other through programs and informally, and of course balanced with access to a great collection and technology. This is a, okay, so basic recommendation is to maintain and renovate the majority of your libraries because they are relatively young. We're not going to look to replace the buildings that are, doing well and in their current location. So these here are the ones that are recommended for just improvement over the next 10 to 15 years. For some of them, it may be a light touch, and for others, it may be a little bit more involved, depending on what the needs are of each building, how aligned they are now with what the community wants and needs in the future. There's a few libraries that, well, there's one library in particular that we're calling Renovate and Recapture, and that is this building here, the Medford Library. This was designed to be in some ways, a main library for the whole Jackson County system. There are functions behind the scenes, support services, that have outgrown this space. And so one of the things that the plan is looking at is finding a new home for some of those functions behind the scenes, but still very, very important for the whole system to have a bigger place to work so they can spread out and function very well. And what that'll leave here at the Medford Library are some spaces that have been vacated. So can we recapture those spaces for new public uses? Some of the things that were mentioned in the strategic plan, more of those places for people, perhaps workforce, career space, places to meet and collaborate, creative spaces, maybe a really cool place for the library of things. The opportunities are quite vast. There's a few libraries that are recommended for expansion. The aforementioned Butte Falls Library that is less than 2,000 square feet. It is proposed for an expansion that's not that big, truly, but it will make a big difference for that community to add more space. Right now, it's basically a one-room library, and if you've seen pictures of people trying to participate in programs in there, they're really on top of each other. So giving them a little bit more elbow room for that. Central Point, the library there is leased space that's in the City Hall, and it is not enough space. The recommendation is likely going to be to find a new home for the Central Point Library in a building that's closer to the scale of Ashland Library, more in the sort of 20, 25, 30,000 square foot range. And then Jacksonville, which is also part of this really growing part of the community, there's an opportunity to have that be bigger as well, to build the capacity for serving that whole kind of southwest part of the county. And that may or may not be able to happen on the current site. So additional feasibility study will be required to determine that. But generally speaking, it'd be great to have a bigger Jacksonville library. And then extended access. The book lockers are just one example of the kinds of things that can give people that access that they really want for materials and services outside of the library's standard hours. So we are looking at things like an outpost model that could be introduced in various places like South Ashland, and then other opportunities that may arise over the course of the next 10 to 15 years, things that we haven't thought of now, or new partnerships will come up, and having the library be able to take advantage of those in the moment. So this facilities plan is just the first step in this. Every single one of the projects that's recommended in this plan will have opportunities for the library to engage the community in further conversations about what that specifically could and should look like in the vision and goals for specific spaces.